I think I would like to echo this last point about how much does prosperity really depend on growth, how much does it depend on increasing the material throughput. I think this is the debate which needs to happen in affluent societies. Of course it's different in African societies where you have large parts of the population which don't have covered the basic material throughput needed for a decent life. But I think that we need to think there are differences between having technological best practices which reduce this throughput, and this has to be differentiated from the rebound effect, and I think that's what you were referring to, that increases in resource and energy efficiency liberates capital for simply increasing consumption, and this is a pattern which definitely is not sustainable. And there you don't find an answer you don't find easy economic answers. This leads you to normative discussions and to this type of discussion of what are concepts and possibilities of happiness. And this actually leads me to the second point, that when we discuss, at least my understanding of the roadmap is, this is not a blueprint. Yeah. And I think this, of course, is very important, that countries make their own roadmaps, but we need points of reference which we share. And these points of reference which we share can be derived partially from the concept of planetary boundaries, but not all of them, because not all of the environmental damage associated to production is global. And not all of the social costs are global. Yeah. And that's why roadmaps are a national concept or a regional concept. And this brings me to your question. I think this is a matter of you need to have parameters in your country where you define what are environmental costs which have to be phased out, in which time frame, and how do you buffer the social impact related to that. You were mentioning, Aaron, an example where we don't have a clear answer for that in Germany. Because you say much of our economic wealth is built on the car industry. And cars are not the future instrument for mobility anymore. And this is a social problem in our country too. We have gone through a process of adaptation in the coal industry in Germany, and the coal mines, it took decades for closing them down, and we still, and the region where this happened is still one of the poorest in Germany. So this is complicated, it is. But if we do not name these problems, then we will face, we will close opportunities of prosperity, and now I speak about prosperity in a holistic way for future generations, just for not opening our eyes to decisions, to the long-term impact of decisions we are not taking today because we just leave it as it is. So I think this is the sobering word I would like to say in the end of this session. Thank you.
Some quick considerations. I'll not try to go to each question, but in one of these discussions, someone said that markets are like rhinos. They are powerful beasts with a poor vision and a thick skin. And the meaning of this is that we are talking about economy, we are talking about driven business, driven this kind of short interest. And we need very strong signs, and we need very strong fences to make things go in the direction we want. So when you're talking about green economy, I think that we should take a perspective that one thing is about business opportunities that has a lot to do with technological changes. So these are, let's say, two main tracks: technological changes and business opportunities. But there's a third perspective on green economy, which is exactly about the ways of doing things, the institutional framework, the ways we direct this beast, which we depend on. It's the way things happen, but it should be directed, and we don't have the tools to direct it to the direction that we want, to the future we want, just to connect to the negotiations. And I think that one interesting tool to help on that is something that has been discussed at the last meeting. I'll not get into details here. It's about that donut thing from Oxfam, which is a very interesting way to put together in an integrated manner what means respecting and fulfilling a social floor, which is the center of the donut, and what is to be respecting the planetary boundaries, which is the external. And economy is nothing more, nothing less than the ways to distribute wealth and produce within the two boundaries. So when you look at this figure, you can see that, oh wow, economy serves for these things. So it put economies in the right place, between boundaries. And then you have the thing about distribution. So because you have to rethink how to distribute things, because you have a ceiling and you have a bottom, you have a floor, and things should distribute in this section. And the interesting of this thing is that this can be converted in a very powerful ways of indicating metrics and indicators for the ceiling and for the floor. And so we are seriously thinking just after Rio to start, or maybe at Rio, to make some workshops on using this sort of emerging methodology and even to calculate and to produce the Brazilian donut. So to see, oh, this is the one thing very clear that is our target to move forward and how we should fulfill that. It's a product. Thank you.
The donut works because the donut has space. The world in total, it's a negative.
We need to deal with that.
Comment on financing and yeah, well, thank you very much. I like the framework of opportunity and obligation. And in a certain sense, the idea of the Green Fund, which arose out of the reflection in Africa on opportunities that could present themselves, fits into that kind of a framework. The challenge, though, as I said, is also enabling those who need to take advantage of the opportunity to do so. It's not given. If 33 of the member states of the bank are not eligible in the first instance for accessing loans from the bank, so I think an idea which is implicit in the notion of the green economy is itself a rethinking of some of the foundational pillars on which we have built the current economic arrangement. The philosophical underpinning, the practices that have been built around it, and that might in fact also mean a rethinking of some of the loan decision making processes of institutions. And the bank is jealous about its AAA rating and will not want to give loans to bad clients whose non-performance might affect its rating in the market. And yet, on the other hand, these are precisely the people who need the support to make that transition and to take advantage of opportunity. I think in the case of countries which might find themselves being pushed to abandon certain sectors, the excellent example which we got from Jimmy on Germany and the coal industry, or even the UK and the closure of the coal industry in Yorkshire and all of the consequences will be salutary for UK leaders. I'm thinking more in terms of how to manage transitions over a period in which a tripartite dialogue that will involve private industry, social groups coalesced around it, including the trade unions you mentioned, and the public sector in terms of public policy and incentives to help make that transition as smooth as possible. But it's certainly not going to be a cost-free or a conflict-free transition.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't want to summarize that, but